Most people think the hardest part of saving money is getting started. They're wrong. The hardest part, the part nobody warns you about, is what happens after you've already got some money saved. Because somewhere around $20,000, something quietly shifts. The rules change. The psychology changes. Even the math changes. And if you don't know it's coming, you'll either blow it all trying to chase a feeling you can't name, or you'll freeze, terrified to touch it. So today, we're going to talk about exactly what happens after $20,000 and why almost nobody is prepared for it. Here's something the personal finance world almost never talks about. Money isn't just a number, it's an identity signal, to you and to your brain. When you hit your first $1,000, you felt relieved. When you crossed $5,000, you felt safer. When you got to $10,000, you felt like you'd finally made it. But $20,000, that's different. $20,000 is the number where your brain stops thinking like a saver and starts thinking like an owner. Suddenly, you're not just a person who has a little cushion, you're a person who has capital. And capital has weight. Capital has options. Capital has risk. And most people, without realizing it, completely freeze. Or they do something reckless, because neither their habits nor their mindset was built for this version of money. The identity hasn't caught up to the bank account, and that gap, that's where most financial mistakes happen. Let's talk about something concrete, because this isn't just psychological. The math literally changes at $20,000. Here's what I mean. When you had $2,000 saved, a 5% annual return gave you $100. Cool, that's lunch money. It didn't move the needle, so it didn't change your behavior. But at $20,000, that same 5% return gives you $1,000 without you doing a single thing. That's a car payment, a month of rent in some cities, a flight somewhere that changes your perspective. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and this is the part people miss. At $20,000, your money starts compounding fast enough that your financial decisions begin to matter more than your financial effort. Let me say that again. Below $10,000, hustle wins. More income, more side gigs, more hours, effort is your biggest lever. But above $20,000, decisions win. Where you put the money, what rate of return you're getting, what fees you're paying, what tax structure you're in, those choices start to outrun your ability to out-earn bad ones. You can work an extra 10 hours a week and make $300, or you can move $20,000 from a 0.5% savings account to a 5% high-yield account and make $900 doing absolutely nothing. The effort economy and the decision economy are not the same game, and at $20,000, you've crossed the line. Okay, so now you understand the identity shift and the math shift, but here's where most people actually lose, the psychological traps that appear right around this number. You've been disciplined for months, maybe years. You hit $20,000 and suddenly your brain says, you've earned this, a nicer car, a vacation, a wardrobe upgrade. And these feel justified because they kind of are. You did work hard. But what most people don't realize is that lifestyle creep at this stage doesn't just cost you the money you spend, it resets your momentum. And momentum at $20,000 is worth far more than the thing you bought. You now have enough money that the internet starts mattering. You read about index funds, real estate, crypto, Roth IRAs, brokerage accounts, and tax loss harvesting, all in the same afternoon, and you do absolutely nothing, because the stakes feel real now, and making the wrong move feels catastrophic. Here's the truth. Doing nothing with $20,000 is also a decision, and over a decade, it's often the most expensive one you'll make. This is subtle. Once you have $20,000, you stop comparing yourself to people who are broke. You start comparing yourself to people who have more. You follow different accounts, hang around different conversations, and suddenly $20,000 feels small. That feeling is dangerous because it can push you into high-risk moves designed to catch up to a benchmark that was never realistic in the first place. So what do you actually do after $20,000? Three things, and they're simpler than any algorithm you'll find online. Not all of your $20,000 should be doing the same job. Some of it is your emergency fund. It needs to be safe and liquid in a high-yield savings account. Some of it is your investment capital. It needs to be working, ideally in low-cost index funds inside a tax-advantaged account.